The Venom symbiote is now being held by the US Army and granted to one amazing soldier who proved his worth, Flash Thompson. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Welcome to a brand new weekly series. We intend to tell you the entire Agent Venom storyline, all the way up to his Space Knight days and his return home. But we need to know if you guys want this to become a weekly series by giving this video a like. It also helps us since YouTube has changed their algorithm and I need to beg for likes anyway. So please, let us know if you want this to become official and make it weekly by giving this video a like and give us a comment down below what you think about Agent Venom Flash Thompson. Let's begin. Over in Eastern Europe, Flash Thompson finds himself jumping headlong into a city being destroyed. A mercenary group is attempting to extract a man who has learned how to weaponize Antarctic vibranium, and Flash needs to stop them before they can. But during his arrival, he found some of the terrorist soldiers opening fire on the innocents in the city. Flash jumps in to shield the last standing woman and he fights off the rest of the soldiers. However, as he wraps himself around the woman, he sees a grenade fall out right in front of them. He quickly plugs the pinhole and decides to bring it with him, thinking how this mission is already off to a great start. Using the guns from the other dead soldiers, Flash runs through the alleyways, firing in all directions, killing off the remaining soldiers. Then he finds what he's looking for, and he stares down at the barrel of a tank. After getting the woman and the child to safety, Flash goes back and pulls Dr. Chemic out of the tank. The doctor tells him to release him at once, but Flash tells him, "You're actually pretty lucky to be alive." And a green ghost floats over and wraps itself around Flash. A voice then tells him that he has a pretty neat costume. So first, you get a trick. And then Jack-O-Lantern slams his broom down on Flash, telling him, "And here's the treat." Jack then grabs the doctor and begins to fly off, and the symbiote starts to creep out from the ghost's wrappings. Using the tank next to them, Flash fires a tank shell at Jack to try and stop him. But as he goes to give chase, the woman from before begs him to take her son out of there, so Flash decides to take them with him. While swinging through, Jack comes back, knocking Flash out of the air, causing him and the civilians to begin to fall back down to the streets. Jack then slashes away at Flash's face, and Control radios in telling him to stay calm. He's losing control of the symbiote. Just then, Flash turns webbing up Jack, and the symbiote punches him back, stating, "We're in control now." Jack quickly jumps back and pins Flash down, ready to cut off his head, and that gives Flash another idea. The grenade from before is then thrust into Jack's mouth, and it explodes. Jack begins coughing and calls out to his room to try and escape. But before he can fly far enough off, Flash webs up the doctor and brings him out of Jack's grips, causing him to fall back down to the ground. Later, over at Project Rebirth, General Dodge has the symbiote removed from Flash, telling everyone to get out. He needs to talk to Flash alone. Dodge tells Flash that he had to kill the last soldier that occupied that suit. The man lost control, and soon, Dodge is inches away from ending Flash's life if he lets the symbiote take control like that again. Just know next time, if he ever lets the brute anger sully his Operation Venom again, he'll cut it off. Flash's next mission takes him to the Savage Land, where he's being hunted by Kraven the Hunter. With javelins ready in him, Kraven jumps in, stabbing Flash with one of them. Flash knows that he needs to run. He has to get away from him before anxiety can begin to set in. He needs to remember Betty. As the two of them begin to struggle, Flash manages to stab Kraven, but he just grabs a hold of the spike and cuts the symbiote off. Rage begins to set into Flash as it begins to take over, and Kraven jumps up, hitting and knocking Flash back down to the ground. He decides that he has to run. He can't stay here any longer. He can't let Betty bury another liar. A little while later, Flash wakes up in a cave, regaining control of the symbiote. Once he pulls out the last of the spearheads, he looks at his watch and he sees that it's almost been 2 days since he bonded with the symbiote. And after a full 2 days, it can permanently bond with him. Luckily, Command has not set off that failsafe to kill him, yet he only has one bullet left, just in case the symbiote tries to take complete control. He has a mission to complete, but he also can't let Kraven run free. So, he'll have to kill. And just as he's leaving the cave, Kraven appears before him with a strange look in his eye. He knocks him back down into the cave and he tells him to give him what he desires. One final embrace. Flash retreats back further into the cave and he finds himself in a room with giant bats. Ones that can make a lot of loud sonic noises. Things that the symbiote really hates. Kraven calls out to him, but as he talks, Flash webs his mouth to stop him from making any noise. He then drags him across the ground, but then Kraven jumps up, thrusting his javelin. After missing, he then throws it, but before it can hit the wall, Flash webs onto it and swings it back around, stabbing Kraven. Kraven screams out, causing the bats to wake up, and as they screech, the symbiote screams, separating itself from Flash. Kraven gets up ready to kill Flash Thompson, but then the bats swoop down, grabbing the both of them and carrying them out of the cave. Just as they get out, Flash takes out the gun that he has only one bullet left strapped in, and he fires it into the bat's neck. The bat releases them, and Flash grabs onto a vine and he pulls himself back to the foot of the cave. This is it. He's going to go back home and tell Betty everything. No more secrets from her. As long as he has her, nothing else can matter. And then he sees the symbiote crawling towards him. As it begins to bond back with him, he can hear a voice, one stating how it needs him just as much as he needs it. There's no time for questions though. He has a mission and he needs to stop the Antarctic vibranium from shipping out of here. Elsewhere though, someone watched the whole thing and saw Flash outside of his symbiote suit. A little while later, over in Brooklyn, Betty begins to hear a voice at the foot of her bed and then someone lighting a match. Jack appears before her and asks, how does she love that legless drunk anyway? Back in the Savage Land, Flash makes his way down into the vibranium mines, killing all of the henchmen in his way. His fight with Kraven cost him days, and now the vibranium shipment is getting ready to leave. Slowly, the symbiote is gaining more and more control over him. Once the last henchman falls, Flash gives himself a sedative to try and relax the symbiote, but it will only give him about an hour, so he needs to hurry. Top side of the mine, the henchmen begin to prepare to take off with the vibranium, and Flash runs in, charging through all of the men. But before jumping off the ledge, Flash leaves behind a bomb and he shoots his web. He needs his Hail Mary play. Will he make it? The web grabs a hold of the helicopter's tire, and Flash pulls himself up, and as he opens the door, the pilot tries shooting him, but then is quickly thrown out. Just as Flash jumps into the pilot seat, a voice over the radio begins to come in, telling him thank God he managed to get his shipment under control. But since he destroyed his mining operation, using his clearance in the army, he's going to deliver that chopper to New York. Flash asks if he really thinks he's just going to bring him the vibranium, and the man tells him, yes, I would want to deliver it too, you know, if I didn't want to see my girlfriend blown up. Back in Brooklyn, Peter Parker goes to visit Betty and realizes that something is wrong in Betty's apartment. Something very bad. And over in Bushwick, New York, Crime Master tells Flash Thompson one hell of a job. Really got us out of a pickle. But just like I promised, Betty is in a warehouse by the river. End of Valentine Lane. You have about 5 minutes. So you might not want to call your superiors or that bomb will go off a little early. Flash leaves swinging through the city, but the symbiote slowly begins to take more control of him. He's had it too long, but that doesn't matter right now. All Flash knows is that he needs to get to Betty. He can't let anything stop him. And then Spider-Man appears, kicking Venom down. Flash tries to tell him to wait, but Spider-Man punches him and sends him flying into the ground. And then Spider-Man lands, telling everyone, you need to run. And through the dust, Venom webs up Spider-Man, pulling him in and hitting him with a massive punch. Flash's mind tells Venom to stop, but Venom continues flinging and beating down on Spider-Man. The more Flash tries to talk to the symbiote, the more he realizes there's no response. The symbiote is blinded by rage, and then Venom screams out, kill Spider-Man! Back in Bushwick, Crime Master's henchmen begin unloading the helicopter, and that's when one of them notices something laying inside. He shows Crime Master, who looks at it, and then he pushes the man off the building. Seconds later, an explosion goes off. Over at the Project Rebirth facility, General Dodge says someone please correct him if he's wrong. But pushing that kill switch was supposed to blow up Venom, right? Catherine mentions, well, a bomb did go off, but it was over in Bushwick. Back in Brooklyn, the fight between Venom and Spider-Man rages on, but not long into it, Spider-Man begins beating Venom down, shouting, where is she? Flash manages to mutter out, bomb! And Spider-Man goes back to punching him, shouting, what did you do with her? Flash tries to back away and escape, but Spider-Man webs up his leg and slams him back into the ground. He then jumps into attack, but as he gets close, Venom turns back and cracks him across the face. The punch sends Spider-Man flying through a store, and Venom charges in, reaching out. But instead of grabbing Spider-Man, he grabs the sedatives next to him and starts downing hundreds of pills. Venom slowly stumbles away and says, warehouse, Valentine Lane. Spider-Man tries to figure out if he can trust him, but then Venom lifts a truck up and throws it. Flash tells Venom that he needs to stop, and if he doesn't, Betty is going to die. If he stays, Dodge will kill him. Does he want another host? Venom stops and thinks about it and decides he doesn't want another host, so he'll allow Flash to take back over. Flash rushes over to the warehouse, and just as he gets to it, it explodes. Everything is gone. Everything good in his life. Betty. He's not a hero, he's a villain. And then he sees Spider-Man escaping at the last second with Betty. Flash manages to say thank you, but Spider-Man tells him no. You're a deranged sicko. I'll find you again, and next time, you won't be thanking me. As the symbiote begins to pull back, Flash notices that during the fight, Spider-Man managed to place a tracker on him. So for now, he'll keep it. There will probably be a time when he needs Spider-Man to find him. Flash radios to Catherine that the vibranium shipment is in New York and he's en route to stop it. Currently, he's still in control of the suit. As Flash swings through, little robot devils flutter around stating how they love his costume. And then they begin to breathe fire all over him. Flash manages to fight some of them off, but then Jack-O-Lantern flies back in, punching Flash off of the building. Jack tells him that he's kind of new at this. He's never really had a nemesis before, door, so he's gonna chain him up for now. He then starts flying through the buildings, dragging Flash along, and just before he can kill him, Crime Master radios in. He says the vibranium is being intercepted by the government, the shipment he was supposed to guard. Jack takes off, stating that they'll have to continue this later, but he'll be seeing him around, Eugene. But before leaving, Flash managed to tack the locator the Spider-Man left on him, stating that he'll be seeing someone soon. A little while later, Flash, Betty, and Peter all sit in Betty's apartment after finally getting a chance to go home. Everyone begins to wonder why was it that Betty was targeted. She mentions that it might have been because of the recent crime story that she put out, and they just got upset. Peter says that it may have just been the monster trying to lure out Spider-Man, but Flash says maybe Spider-Man is just getting in the middle of something, like he's a trouble magnet. But before the argument of whether Spider-Man is good or bad for everyone, Betty says that maybe it's just all brought on by Betty Brant's crack journalism. They're just gonna have to wait and see what happens next. As Betty leaves, Flash and Peter sit on the couch, and Peter says maybe she's just unlucky, ended up in the middle of something bad, and Flash tells him yeah, that much is clear. Now this is the beginning of the Flash Thompson storyline. Now we did the origin for Flash Thompson getting the symbiote. You can find that on the channel under Agent Venom Origins, so don't worry about that, I'll link it down below. If you're wondering what's going on and what time period this seems to take place during, this is before Flash Thompson came to grips with the symbiote suit. So he's learning how to control it and what he needs to do with it. Immediately following this storyline, we go into the Spider Island storyline, which we've already covered, and I will also link that down below. The next Agent Venom storyline that we're going to be covering, if this gets enough likes, is we're going to be doing the one that comes after Spider Island. So you need to go watch Spider Island to see what Flash is doing during that, and then we'll come back to him after that next week if you guys want more of this. Keep in mind, everything you know about Flash Thompson and Agent Venom is going to be thrown through the ringer because a lot of stuff changes and it's a crazy ride, and I personally enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian and Instagram at Comicstorian, and I'll see you next time right here.